Hey, what's up, everybody? It's TJ here along with Brennan, Benji, and Travis. We got our third segment of our bullpen interviews coming at you live right now. We got the chance to sit down with Coach Wasikowski of the Oregon Ducks, talk a little bit about how the Ducks have been doing this season, some upcoming games, and just get to know a little bit more about him.
This is a absolute treat. We had a blast with this interview. Coach Waz is 100% genuine. And if you guys listen to his answer on what his favorite uniform combo is, if there's nothing else, you listen to that 30 seconds to a minute and you'll get a perfect picture of the kind of caliber of a coach in person that he is.
And not to mention that he's given Brennan a spot potentially on the team.
Yeah.
might be a BP thrower, but
yeah. Hey, go Ducks! At least I'm on the roster, baby.
Without further ado, Coach.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Come on, Coach.
Well, it's not going as good as you guys, but it's going good.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I beg to differ.
Yeah, I mean, hey, one weekend, man, but you guys are having a hell of a season.
So are you guys. You guys are hot as they get, man. Keep it going. Love it.
Thank you.
Our guys are all over. I don't know if you guys know this, but our guys are all over the stuff you guys are doing. They think that it's just raw and perfect, man. Good.
Well, hey, we love to hear that. Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's like you got like big league stuff. Dude gets called up from the minors and he's just, he's fresh and he's ready to go. That's kind of where you guys are at. You guys are bringing something new to the table. It's fun.
It's crazy because the Major League Baseball analogy, it's like, especially at the beginning of the year when the lockout was still on for the MLB, right? We were just looking for, and so just a little bit of background, I pitched for Georgia Tech. So we all have, a history of loving college baseball. Brendan is the one in the LSU hat. He's a current student at LSU. So it was just crazy to see how little exposure, and this is not a new thing, but little exposure the game gets from a college perspective. And, fans are so much more passionate about college sports in general. And it's awesome to see the exposure that it's getting now. And we're just trying to do our part and help out with that.
Think they're going to figure out that college baseball is funner to watch than pro baseball? When's that going to happen?
It is.
It's so much more fun.
I don't even understand the argument that, obviously up in the majors, there's freaks in nature, but you still get that in the college game. And the top 10 plays, right, are always, I would say, arguably better in college because they're people, are playing for their teammates and it's not just playing for the name on their back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Benji actually is living in Indiana right now. And if you don't mind, this is the format we were going to stick to, if it's okay with you. Just ask a couple of questions about, your history as a head coach and assistant coach and kind of the path you've taken to get to where you are now. And then just a couple of questions about the Ducks season so far, if that's all right with you.
Shoot, it's great. Honored to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Still pissed that we didn't beat LSU. That was on us. We screwed up. They had some talent too, but I want another shot then.
It's all right. Tennessee took care of them, as they are everybody else.
This year,
yeah. Well, Coach, I'll get started. So you played at Pepperdine in the early 90s and then coached all over the country, Missouri, Florida, Arizona, 2 stints at Oregon now, as well as Purdue. Do you consider yourself more of a West Coast guy? And then also I want to know, what was it like being at Purdue and living in Indiana, being an Indiana guy myself?
Well, it's colder in Indiana. That's the start. You get good at indoor practices and understanding how to run indoor practices and do a bunch of stuff inside. I don't know. I just consider myself a baseball coach, to answer your first one. I mean, I don't know I coached in the SEC for 3 years during the Gorilla Ball era. West Coast, and it's supposed to, I think I was probably on a staff that we might have led the country in sacrifice bunts one year. I coached 10 years at Arizona, where we led the conference in triples and stolen bases for 6 of the 10 years. I think you just adapt to the personnel that you have, and you do the best you can to win a baseball game. At the end of the day, you're trying to win a game. And the baseball is a little bit different in the parts of the country that you coach in, just because I think there's some variables. The weather's a factor.
Absolutely.
A lot of the mentality is a factor on when you go and you coach in the SEC. Well, the ballpark's traditionally a little bit smaller. The wind blows out of the south ahead of those cold fronts, and so it can start blowing a little bit strong. We don't get wind on the West Coast much at all, so it's just kind of, if it's a night game, it's going to be damp and it's going to be cool, and the ball's not going to travel. When you're playing on a turf field, which the Northwest schools all have turf fields, usually you're not going to have the bad hop double, the bad hop triple, like in the desert where, you get a sinker baller and the guy pounds the ball on the ground and it goes over the first baseman's head into the corner in Tucson, and it's a triple instead of a 3U. So I don't know so much about the parts of the country. I think the weather's got a big part of that. I think there's great baseball all over the country, and I've just been blessed to have a chance to be able to coach in a lot of different places.
My next question is, you took your first head coaching job at Purdue after 5 years at Oregon, including a year acting as head coach. What brought you back to Oregon after that 5-year stint in Purdue?
Rob Mullins, he gave me an opportunity to be here, and so I said yes. What other than that, you got to have success to be able to get opportunities, and in order to have success, you got to get great players, and you got to try to coach them up and get those guys aligned with the goals, and have them own a program to where those guys feel like, it's their program. It's not the coach's program. I mean, coaches, for me, won a national championship as a player, not yet as a coach, but I think the key is in this whole thing is once those guys own the program and they take the program over for themselves, and they start caring more than the coaches do, that's when you got a dangerous program. And if the coaches care more than the players do, those are the kind of programs you usually, see coaches taking over, is because for whatever reason it got away, and the coach ends up caring more than the players, and then the players don't have that ownership in the program that is one of the biggest keys, in my opinion, towards the program being really, really good and successful. And so that can be delicate because, it needs to be the players' ideas. It needs to be the players' program to where those guys are owning the thing. And that's when I think they're going to play their best. It's kind of one of the things we're really trying to do here. And it's a day-to-day. It's a work in progress.
Okay, perfect. That actually kind of answers my next question. I was going to ask about how from 2016 being at Purdue, they only had 10 wins, and you brought them to have a 38-win season in 2018. As well as your first year as head coach in Oregon, you improved by 12 wins that following season. And I was going to ask what you're constantly reiterating to your guys that makes them improve so much, but I think you answered that very solid with that last question. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Coach.
Yeah, no problem.
Is it possible to put into words what it feels like to win a College World Series as a player? Obviously, it's been a couple of years, but is that something that you're able to communicate to your players as a goal, as an experience, as something to strive for, more than just something that's more nebulous, I guess, like as a concrete experience?
To explain what that was like probably doesn't work real good, but when they see videos of it and they see actually doing it, you go, holy cow, man, that's our coach. He actually was, in Rosenblatt at the time. It wasn't T Ameritrade, but, in Rosenblatt, win a national championship on top of a pile, all that kind of stuff. It takes a team, and it takes individual performances, yes, but it takes a team full of guys that can believe that they can do it. And at Pepperdine, I remember being, we can share stories like this with the guys and they scratch their head, but at Pepperdine, I remember being in they do a banquet at the very beginning of the thing. All the teams come into this huge old room and they introduce the head coaches for each program. And at the time, Gene Stevenson, we were there with Wichita State. Texas was there with Coach Gus. Augie Garrido was at Fullerton. Coach Horton actually was at Fullerton as an assistant. But they had Jim Morris was at Miami. This was the crew that was all in this College World Series that we won in '92. And at the banquet, they introduced the guy we were playing for. His name was Andy Lopez. They introduced us as, hey, can we bring up Al Lopez from Pepperdine and come up here and talk about your team? And that's pretty much all we needed, because they didn't know our coach's name and they couldn't even pronounce the name of the school that we were at. And we were like third in the country going into the regionals. That was before super regionals. We were third in the country and we got a 3 seed in the Tucson regional. So we felt slighted about every corner we were around. Getting selected to be a 3 seed in regional when we were third in the country going into the regionals, we knew that was a slap in the face. we weren't going to host. We didn't even have lights at Pepperdine, but we felt like we were better than a 3 seed. Didn't matter. We needed to play like a 1 seed to win that regional. We did. And then to get to Omaha, we needed to play like the best team out there to win a championship. And we were able to beat, Wichita State. And I was in Coach Stevenson's heyday. And then Texas twice and Fullerton once for the championship on CBS at noon. So, it was a lot of fun doing it. Do the guys take anything out of that? I hope they do. I think they at least respect the fact that, as a player, I know what it felt like. And I try to bring that experience of being a player and knowing what it was like literally in that same season, the first weekend of that national championship season. We opened at Stanford, and I was 0 for that weekend. And so I know what that feels like to go 0 for my first 2 or 3 college weekends and be able to communicate that with a player or a hitter that's really going through struggles and stuff. I think that helps. But ultimately, these guys got to see it for themselves. And once they experience it, then they'll never forget it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's so fascinating to hear. So us, growing up, we were all born in the 90s, right? And as baseball fans, Pepperdine is like one of what we consider as college baseball blue bloods. And it's so interesting to see when people consider, the best conferences in baseball, people gravitate, I would say, at least in our region, tend to gravitate towards, the SEC, and just forget about how many blue blood programs are even outside the Pac-12, like you talk UC Irvine, Fullerton, Pepperdine, and then you get into the Pac-12 and, USC, UCLA, Stanford, Oregon State, all these teams that have a history of the success. So coming into this season in that kind of a conference, what were your expectations coming into the year? Because, preseason polls are kind of, they're preseason polls. But was there anything specific in the offseason that helped you construct and project what your expectations and the team's expectations were coming into this year?
No, the expectations are just to give everything you got every day and continue to improve every day. But the goal is always win a national championship. And, I work at a place that, a lot of people like to take shots at because they think we're spoiled and entitled with the Nike connection. Well, there's a lot of schools out there that have the Nike brand with them, and they get plenty of stuff too. We look at it as an opportunity, and we're blessed with the fact that Nike is connected with Oregon. They're connected with other schools too, and now Major League Baseball. But we want to match that excellence. There's no better company out there than Nike, and they've crushed it. And so our job as a program is to try to match that excellence and crush it here at that same level. We haven't been able to do that quite yet, but we're working towards that every day. To be the best there's only one out there that can say, yeah, we were the best. And so I'll use analogies. Coach Corbin is a friend of mine in the coaching business. He'd done an amazing job at Vanderbilt University. And when I was at the University of Florida, if you went to Vanderbilt, and you didn't sweep those guys, it was a bad weekend. Yeah. It was a bad weekend. And, at LSU, when Coach Bertman won 5 national championships in the 90s, before he got to that program, the worst facility in the entire Southeastern Conference was LSU. And he put that place on the map with just a lot of hard work, a lot of talking about national championships, what's that's going to look like, the work that's required, the players, obviously, the discipline, all those kind of things. Yeah, there's a lot of pieces of it. But to see it having been done with Coach Bertman, Coach Corbin now putting that place really on the map as a force in college baseball, it's just a tremendous story and a tremendous accomplishment for those 2 individuals, 2 examples. They were able to do it from basically making something out of a situation that others would say, wow, this is a terrible situation. Well, it's as good as you want to make it. It doesn't matter where you're at. You can do it. And, at Oregon, we're blessed with a great situation. We haven't won a national championship yet, but that's something that's on our goal list for sure. It starts our year every single year. And we're just every day, though, the daily work, we're just trying to improve and get better to where hopefully we get a chance to do some of the things that Coach Bertman and Coach Corbin have done.
Absolutely. So coming in with national championship aspirations, kind of got punched in the jaw a little bit the first 3 games at San Diego. Was there anything specific that was said? Because after those 3 games, you guys rattle off, 15-3 stretch, including a huge, series victory at Stanford. Was there anything that you yourself said, or that any of your player leaders said or did, that was a catalyst for, helping put those 3 games in the rear view and start sparking that, incredible stretch that you guys went on?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'll be honest with you. First week of the year, San Diego played really good. And they've got really good pieces. And still to this day, I think I don't think they have the most prospects that we've played on offense, but they play good offense. Like, they stress you and they play good. Offense comes and goes though. It's not something that is usually a sustainable thing to where it's always going to be there every single day. You're going to get the same thing. That's usually the pitching piece of it. The pitching and the defense is the consistent. But I thought they played exceptionally well that weekend. I didn't think we were worth a damn that weekend, to be honest with you. I didn't think we answered the bell until the end of the weekend. I don't know why. I don't think that it was a team meeting or anything that was special about being said. But there was a turnaround that happened, and we started playing better baseball by the last game of that series. Actually, by about the second half of the third game of that series, we started really playing a lot better baseball. And then we started getting on fire a little bit, and we took it through the Stanford weekend. Stanford, I still think, is got one heck of a club. They're really physical. They've got tons of pitching. And then this last weekend at UCLA, I mean, we lose 3 one-run games that we were winning each one of those games. And it comes out looking like a stinker of a weekend. We played very, very good defense. I thought we pitched pretty good. And I thought, offensively, we weren't nearly at our best. And so what's that leave us? An 0 for 3 on the weekend, a 2 and 3 on the week. And to be honest with you, a lot of pissed off guys, because I think we just feel like we just didn't bring what we could bring.
Looking ahead to the next couple of weeks, right? Ball State, Washington State. I know we as fans, of the team will be looking for the bounce back, because even just looking at all the box scores, right? Every single game, 1 run and in the 5th inning or later. So, one of those series that's a lot closer than you look and, oh, well, it was a sweep. Well, yeah, but you guys played them very, very well. And UCLA, I mean, a very talented, very young team too. Yeah. So what is the mindset now? You see, you kind of got pissed off. Is there any specific preparation and practice that you guys try to direct that energy as you look forward to the next couple of weeks of Pac-12 play?
Well, I mean, we don't lie to ourselves, or we were 0-3 this weekend. It was a bad weekend. Well, you were close. That doesn't count in baseball. You're as good as your record is. And, when you lose 3 games, you get knocked out of the polls, and that should hurt. And so what are you going to do about it? You're going to sit around, you're going to complain, and you're going to make excuses, or you're going to say, no, you know what? If we probably had in our lineup, each guy give us 1 at-bat, instead of it being a bad at-bat, change it to a good at-bat in each one of those 3 games. If we had 3 or 4 good at-bats instead of bad at-bats, we probably win 3 games. Well, that's great. You can go back and say, well, we could have and should have and stuff, and that it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Bottom line is you lost. You better get back on it. You better get your mind right, and you better get yourself prepared to where, the Ball State club that's coming in here this weekend, shoot, I think they're in first place in their league, and they got guys all over the place. I think I counted on video where they've got 12 guys who are throwing 90 or better. And guess what? There's no breaks there either. We schedule those guys because we think they're going to win their league, and it's going to help when you beat those kind of teams. That's going to help in your RPI, like we saw when we went to Gonzaga and we beat Gonzaga at their park on a Tuesday. The only reason why we're playing them in San Diego and these kind of teams is because they've traditionally been really good in their leagues. Even St. John's, they've been an East Coast powerhouse. Why'd we schedule them? Because of that. We don't want any off weekends. We want to play against the best in order to do what those guys that I, listed with Bertman and now recently Coach Corbin, Coach Savage won a championship in 2013. In order to do that kind of stuff, you can't back down. You can't lie to your team. Your team knows. And bottom line is we were good enough to probably lose 3 games this weekend. And that's it. If you want to win 3 games this weekend, you probably know very clearly what you got to do to be able to do that. It's going to be our emphasis in practice this week, and hopefully bring an edge to the table that we, quite candidly, I didn't feel like we brought to the table, and that's my responsibility. So I fell short on a weekend. Not the player's fault. When we lose, it's coach's fault. And we need to prepare our guys better. And it's about that simple.
Appreciate that.
So, Coach, over the past, I'd say 1.5-ish, technology has been working its way into baseball, including, the new implement of the the wristwatches and all sorts of new high-tech stuff. Do you guys use any of the wristwatch play calling, or are you like a classic, just giving 1, 2, 3 signs, your pitcher and catcher?
I don't know about all the wristwatches. I've seen some of that stuff. Maybe it works great. Don't know. For me, we try to get it and throw it over the plate and set the tempo. I don't like slow games. I think baseball is boring. I think it needs to be quicker. I want to get the baseball and I want to throw it. I don't want to be the guy that sits around and, I think the players, let those guys play. And, to sit around and slow the game down and really do that kind of stuff, that ain't it. I really feel like the fans want to see a product that's an exciting product to watch. I think the way you get those guys in the seats is when it's got a tempo that they can respect and stay with the game and not drift in their attention. And if you can do that, I think you're probably going to have a more enjoyable product for fans to see and probably for coaches and players to play, because it sucks when it's slow, and when it's got a great tempo, it's a lot better. And so we try to, I don't know about the wristbands and all that kind of stuff. We don't do it that way. We're going to try to just, set the tempo and get the pitch in, get it to the pitcher and let him go.
And that helps the defense stay locked in too. Yeah. Do you notice a positive impact on the defense's play when a pitcher's working, getting the ball, receiving it, and getting back to the catcher like that?
Well, the first weekend we were right up there about 17, 18 seconds on the 20-second clock consistently. And we played like crap on the defensive end. Here lately we've been pitching it where the 20-second clock is hanging around 12 seconds and we haven't been making errors. So, I'm not very smart, but I know that the quicker we've been pitching it and getting rid of it, then the better we're playing defense. And I like good defense. It seems to help.
Agreed. Being a head coach, I see you out there coaching third base a lot, which I mean, to my knowledge, I don't see a lot of college head coaches out there doing that. Do you feel there are any advantages to being on the field, coaching instead of, excuse me, being in the dugout?
That's a good question. For me, I just like to be engaged with my team. We have a competition on our coaching staff about who wins more when they throw BP. We have a competition on our coaching staff that says who throws more balls in BP than the next guy. Everything that we do, we ask the players to be ultra competitive. And I don't know, as a coach, we got to do the same thing. If we're going to ask them to do it, then we got to be competitive amongst the coaches. We're always, jabbing at each other about if we threw BP and we lost, or we threw BP and we only scored 5-6 runs instead of the other guy who threw BP and the team scored 18 runs. Those kind of things are just fun and healthy on our staff. And so I don't know, I want to do whatever's best for the team. I don't care if it's with me coaching third or with me standing in the dugout. Whatever's best for the team, I want to do. A presence on the field, I don't know. I think it's good for head coaches to be engaged. I just love the game, and I love to be involved with the game, and I love to be involved with these young guys, and I respect what they're trying to go through to be successful players and hopefully reach their goals of being longtime major leaguers. Not all of them could do it, obviously, but it's hard. And for us, I don't know. It's just fun. We like to try to have a lot of fun with our players, and that's a day-to-day thing. And so like today, for example, instead of our practice being just one group practice where we stand out there for 2.5 hours together, we're probably going to have 3 or 4 different practices, smaller groups, to where we get a lot more development and individual time to work through some of the kinks that we didn't get right this weekend. Give those guys individual time, really connect with them, and just enjoy being around them and the relationship building. We spend a lot of time on that kind of stuff. And I think there's real value there. It's fun being around the guys. Even this morning, hanging out with them at breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning, instead of just putting it on the paper. Okay, hey, be at breakfast at 7 and the coach doesn't show up. I mean, that sucks. If I'm a player and the coach isn't even there, the hell with this. This isn't any fun. I mean, these guys, they ask us to do stuff and then they're not even with us. What kind of deal is that? I like being with these guys. I mean, they're trying to do something that's tough. They got to go to school and all the things that they do. But, in the grand scheme of things, shoot, we got to show up and dress up in these, funny outfits and go out there and play baseball all day long. And there's a lot of less fortunate people out there. So we just enjoy what we're doing, I guess. Long-winded to answer your question about coaching third, but.
No, that's exactly, when you talk about leadership from a player or a coach perspective, That's the kind of individual you want to follow, someone that sets the example like that. So it was long-winded, but we really appreciate going into depth about that. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, Coach, I haven't played any like sports in 6-7 years now, but I definitely wish I had a coach like you growing up, because
Ready to run through a wall.
that's the best leadership I've ever heard. Honestly, that's solid.
I got 4 years of eligibility. I'm ready to go now.
Let's go. Transfer portal. Get your name in there, man. We're checking that every day. Let's go, Brendan.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I can throw at least 68. So it'd be a nice change of pace for you guys.
Spin rate ain't there yet.
Pitch out the other day, and he only hit 89 and got booed. That was awesome. That guy's all over Twitter and stuff.
How's the spin rate, Brennan?
Probably about 6.
Brendan, if you're in the 60s, I got like 54 max on the mound, but that's okay. It's straight as it gets, and they can crush it. So that's all it needs to be.
Perfect.
So getting a little bit away from your average interview questions, I have a few that are kind of just off topic, just to kind of get to know you a little better. If you could coach any MLB player, past or present, who would it be?
Pete Rose.
Yes,
Pete Rose, because you wouldn't have to coach.
I love how quick that was.
You just get to be around Pete Rose. Now, he did some things that were stupid, and ironically, he came out here. There's a donor of the program named Pat Kilkenny, who basically, he's not a donor. He made the program here. He's the one who funded the whole thing, and the guy's awesome. He's a businessman down in San Diego. Well, somehow he connected with Pete Rose. He brought Pete Rose up here. I get a chance to meet Pete, go out to dinner with him, the whole thing, and he's awesome now. I mean, but for me, and he's even admitted the entire team last year in the middle of the baseball field that he'd made mistakes and he'd screwed up and this, that, and the other. But for me, that nobody played harder. That old school deal, when you see guys, taking out a guy at second base for a double play, let's call it, taking out a catcher at home plate. He took Ray Fosse out at home plate in an all-star game. It's a disconnect with the generation of players right now, just because the rules have so changed. And, in the past, no, you didn't need rules to make sure that the house was tidy. If a guy got out of line, a pitcher would throw a ball on a guy's chin or dot a guy.
The game policed itself. Yeah.
It policed itself. If you were running from first to second, the rule was you had to slide within arm's reach of the base. But if you came back to that dugout and you didn't make every effort to break up that double play, your teammates would just crush you. And that was the culture. And so, when you see these videos of old school dudes going into second base and just roll blocking those guys and crushing people, well, now, that's a cheap shot because you can end a career and this, that, and the other. Yeah. And that's why, back in the day, they taught double plays. As soon as you caught that ball and you exchanged it to first, you got up. You got up in the air to where your feet weren't lodged in that ground, to where you would have your knees braced in the dirt and have a chance to blow your knee out. When that dude came in and he hit you, you would just flip over the top of him. Sure, you'd land on your ass or your back or whatever, but you wouldn't bust your knee up. That's just how they taught you to turn a double play and basically turn it and still live to play another rep on the next play. Taking catchers out, just all those things. Sure, it probably wasn't great, for sometimes players' longevity of their careers, because there were some careers that were ended because of that stuff. But there was a real beauty with just playing to win that generation had. And Pete Rose played to win. He played with an aggression that's just the way he dove into bases, the way he got after things, taking the hit, regardless of where the hit or what the hit looked like. His batting stance wasn't pretty and beautiful. He just got in there and flat out outgritted you. And that's the
now we're banning the shift because people refuse to take what the defense gives you, right?
Yeah. How about learn to hit?
Right. Or at least bunt. I mean, they're giving you 1 to 2 bases. 1 to 2 bases.
You got 17 people on the right side of the field. You just need to push a little bunt down. It's not that hard.
Well, and I loved it. I love Pete Rose. I thought he nailed it. I got a picture of Pete right here in the office. For me, he's the guy. There's so many others too, but just more or less a hard-nosed guy that people could gravitate to and be on, kind of guy that just ain't going to quit. And, that's the kind of guy, if I was coaching back in the day, I'd love to be around Pete Rose, because I know you probably would never had to say nothing to Pete. And maybe you just had to settle him down from time to time. I don't even know, but guys like that, just ready to play every day. How fun would that be? Just every single, and that's, to be honest with you, that's a lot of guys I'm coaching right now. I'm blessed to have a roster of guys that just love to show up and get after it every day. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. So you touched earlier being connected with Nike and having all the access to the gear. What would you say is your favorite uniform combo that you guys have?
Man, my favorite uniform, to be honest with you, it's our practice shirt. It's our, I mean, we got some awesome looking jerseys, but the practice shirt, when I first got here, one of the biggest bitches from all the returning guys was guys were coming here for the wrong reasons. They were coming here for the awesome jerseys and the shoes and the hats and all the tricked out stuff. And so I said, all right, well, great. And so what we did is we gave them our fall issue, our first year. It's the same this year. It's the same every year from here on out. We gave them 2 white Hanes t-shirts. Well, not Hanes, they got a Nike swoosh on it. So it's actually a little dressed up, but it's just a white t-shirt. And we gave them a pair of practice pants, a pair of running shoes, a pair of spikes. And that was it. And the guys initially went, wow, where's all our stuff, coach? And the first thing that we said was, well, that was your bitch. That's what you said guys were coming here for. So if you really want to change the culture here and you really want to play for the right reasons, then is it really about the sweet duck jerseys with all the tricked out ducks instead of stripes and all the things that we got? Or is it about just, let's have our most fancy jersey just be a real white Nike t-shirt. That's it. No name, no number, just white. And as it goes, that white shirt, even if you're bleaching it every day, it gets dirty. Pretty thin. It looks like crap. And our guys have grabbed onto that. They love that white shirt now. I bet you if you took a poll of our guys and you said, hey, what would you rather have? The Friday jersey, the Saturday jersey, whatever all these jerseys are, or just the white practice jersey, which one do you take the most pride in and appreciate the most? Our dudes would undoubtedly say that white shirt. And it's the ugliest, it's the grossest, and it probably means the most to all of us. And so there are some tricked out stuff here, but that Nike white, boring t-shirt, that's the one that means the most to us.
There's no better indication of the kind of program you're running over there. And I'm so glad TJ asked that question, because thank you again for these answers.
Yeah, and I got one more. So whenever we make our trek out to Eugene to come watch you guys play, what is one spot that we have to visit?
Like restaurant? There's some great restaurants, right? You got to go to Beppe and Gianni's Italian restaurant. Beppe, man, dude's from Italy. He's a real deal. He knows what's up. You want to go sightseeing. This is God's country around here. You got Spencer's Butte, greatest hike in town. Go to the top of that hill, spend a half hour hiking to the top and sitting up there watching the sunrise or sunset. It's awesome. And then there's a place called Blue Pool, probably put it this way. Eugene's right in the middle of 2 rivers. They're 2 of the best fly fishing rivers in the entire world. You go to one river, you catch a bunch of trout. You go to another river, you catch a bunch of huge steelhead and all that kind of stuff. And literally they sit right between our field. And so from our field, if you took a quick 2-minute jog with a fly rod in hand, you can get to one of the rivers and get a line in. It actually campus on one side of the river and our field's on the other. And so, for the guys that love hunting and fishing, this place is the place for them. You're about a half hour from the coast and about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to like ski resorts and ski slopes and stuff. So, you got pretty much everything if you're an outdoors kind of a person around here. And a lot of the kids that just come from, especially locally, regionally, you got a lot of logging in the area. You got a lot of humble people that are just really appreciate hard work. And that's just how they've made their money and support their families. And just that's kind of the culture around here. And so just enjoying being around the outdoors and just the basic stuff around life is kind of why we're all here. That's what's awesome about this place.
Yeah, that's such a good insight, because I think, most of us are from Texas or the southeast, and no, you take it easy, Brennan. the stereotype for people that didn't grow up there, right? You think West Coast, you think Seattle, San Fran, Los Angeles, and there's a certain stereotype associated with that. I was able to go out to Seattle for the first time a year or two ago, and you drive 30 minutes south of the city and it feels like Alaska would. And I can imagine it's, you think Oregon, you think Portland, but there's so much more. And I appreciate giving a little bit of the insight on the kind of players you're bringing in and what the college town and feel is like. So
that's city living. This is more country living. It takes you about 12 minutes to get anywhere around town. Doesn't matter if it's rush hour or not. If it's rush hour, it might take you 15.
Well, hey, thanks again for taking the time out in the morning. We can't thank you enough. I have all the respect in the world for the kind of coach that you are and the players you got over there. So thanks again. We really
Nothing,
appreciate
Brennan.
it.
I want to hear from Brent. I didn't have
Hey.
Oh, he got called out.
Let's go. You can't just bring in an LSU hat to the thing here and then just sit there.
Well, that's because they deleted my question. All right. So after last year's Eugene Regional, you're facing Coach Paul Mainieri. He goes to Tennessee. They lose. He retires. I remember watching you on my TV saying, if Coach Paul Mainieri retires today, I want him to be our coach. Were you contacted at all by LSU about a possible head coaching job at LSU?
Oh, that's a tough question. I'm going to say no comment on that one.
Oh, yes.
I know. Coach, hey, we wanted to end Coach Mainieri's career in Eugene. I can tell you that much. And hopefully Coach Mainieri, if he ever hears this, would respect that answer. I'm happy he got a chance to go and be with the fine folks out there in Tennessee. Those are just fantastic people out there with a great environment that Tony's built. But selfishly, we wanted a chance at that environment. We wanted a chance to be able to beat those guys there. Coach Mainieri, he's one of the great ones for sure. And Coach Bertman being a guy that's in the house there and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it helped my cause to be at LSU or anything like that by losing in a regional to LSU. That never helps. And so if I had any chance at all at any other position, the key is you got to beat those guys to have the chance to be able to get those spots. And so until we do that kind of stuff, I'm probably not a candidate for any of those jobs. But when we do that kind of stuff, then, that's all fine. But to be honest with you, I'm not really looking for a LSU or a different gig. This is the LSU of the West, if you want to put it that way. I think this place is a place that can be that kind of a place where you can win championships and put that kind of a program together out here on the West Coast. It's awesome. If you haven't seen our field, you don't know much about Oregon, this is a place you guys need to come and take a look at. It's got that kind of a vibe. It's got the SEC of the West mentality with just how the athletic department and Rob Mullins runs this joint. This place is awesome. And so I respect the SEC and these other great baseball areas. I just think this thing can explode too. And so we're going to put everything that we have into this thing. And I think we can make this happen, Brendan.
Hell yeah.
I love is that a Go Ducks with the Louisiana spelling of the go?
Yeah.
Love it.
Seriously, this has been a blast. We really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us and just talk some baseball. You guys have a great program over there, and we'll see whose career you can end this year in the tournament.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. Anytime. I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. It's a lot of fun watching you guys grow as your organization and the things that you guys are providing. It's just another great platform for college baseball. And as we all know on this call, I mean, it's great, and the more people that can see that and the more information that they're getting out there from just kind of grassroots kind of stuff like you guys are doing. You guys are just real. You're not full of crap. You guys are real. You're going to put it out there when somebody stinks or when somebody's good. And I don't know. I think we appreciate that.
And we're a little full of crap, and we can't promise how many listeners this will reach, but we appreciate it. Just doing our part to grow the game.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great day.
Thank
you
you
too.
so much, Coach.
Thank you.